Our passage today is one of God making a promise to the people of Israel and asking them not only to trust in that promise, but also to participate in it. The nation of Israel is in exile. This is a group of people who've lost everything, separated not only from their homes, but from their ways of being. Being in exile is a time of fear and uncertainty. It's a traumatic event. And God promises to bring restoration to these people. But the exile is not a time for them to keep their head down or to live motivated by self-preservation. God asks them to be difference makers in that context they find themselves. In a miserable ongoing situation, such as the Israelites living in exile, often the freedom that one has is in how they respond. They can't control what's happening to them or what's happening around them, but they can control the way that they act. They can choose to live as people driven by hope. And in the Israelites' exile, God invites them to this response. God calls the people of Israel in exile to build houses, plant gardens, grow their families, and seek the welfare of the city. To the Israelites, this probably sounded absurd. God was asking them to live in a way that was permanent to a place, not as people who would soon be brought out of suffering. God wanted them to enter into community with people who had brought them into exile, to live lives counterculturally in a way that potentially put them into more suffering, but also to posture themselves to love those who were creating their suffering. This was not an easy task that God asked. Though we are not people living in exile, this passage also relates to us. This story is also our story, and God's command for the people of Israel is also one that we must live into. A year and a half ago, I was living in the beautiful Spokane, Washington, and I was getting ready to move across the country to Princeton, New Jersey, a place that I would come to be at Princeton Theological Seminary. And though it was my choice to move across the country, I was being displaced. I was being forced to move away from a place that I loved, from a place that I knew well, and from the people who knew me the best. And I moved to this place where the humidity was so bad I sweated for the first month I was here. I was surrounded by people that I didn't know, and I was in a community that tends to be so wrapped up in being academically competitive that it drives me crazy. Yet, I feel called to be in this place with you beautiful people. And I could live here for my 2 years with my head down, and I could just get my degree and move on. But I don't think that that's what I'm meant to do. I'm called to nestle into this community. I'm called to hear your stories, to have you encourage me, and to be encouragement to you. I am called to encourage the institution to be reminded that God unifies us and motivates us to love one another, both on our campus and in the world. Maybe you have other stories of entering into a new place, a new job, marrying into a new family. How are you called to live into this place or into that place? It is important that we relate to this as individuals, but this passage is God speaking to the entire nation of Israel, a large community of people. We need to talk about how we as a community relate. Part of this passage is painted on this huge banner at the front of the church Beacon in Philadelphia, where I'm doing my field at this year. And this banner is up much of the year, reminding us of the work God has challenged us in. The participation that God asked of the Israelites during their time in exile is one that Beacon tries to live into. We've worked to create a space in the building for worship, but we also open it to other groups to come in and use. We planted a garden to benefit not only the people who attend worship, but the families in the neighborhood that don't always have money for food. And we grow our family by creating opportunities for interaction with people in the neighborhood. We have a literacy program at a nearby school and community art events. And we seek the welfare of the city through action over dinner. They're doing it. Here at PTS, we're not quite a conventional congregation, but we too can seek together to make an impact on the community around us. God will bring about restoration, but we are called to participate. This is our mission together. How is that influencing our time here at PTS? In a world full of violence, injustice, and chaos, settling to live well and for the welfare of the community is important and oh so difficult. Because I'm impatient and very excited for Christmas, I started an Advent devotion a couple weeks ago, even though Advent starts on Sunday. And one of the readings the author reflects on is Isaiah 42, verse 10, which begins, "Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise from the end of the earth." Growing up in the church, I heard this phrase a lot, this new song phrase, but I didn't often stop to reflect on what it meant. What is a new song? What does it mean to sing one? And I really like this author's suggestion. Our new song is one that refuses to accept the world as it is, but imagines a future of restoration that God has promised. The church is always at its most daring and risking and dangerous and free when it sings a new song. Because then it sings that the power of the gospel will not let the world finally stay as it is. When we take our new song from within these walls of our community into the neighborhoods in which we find ourselves and out into the world, we are saying that we refuse to let our trust in God and a God of mercy and our hope for the future fade away into the darkness. In singing our new song within the spaces in which we find ourselves, we proclaim that God has plans to bring wholeness into the brokenness. This new song that we sing is beautiful when it's one voice singing out, but it's all the more powerful, all the more meaningful, all the more lovely when all of our voices sing together. Our singing comes in the form of building houses and planting gardens and growing our families and working for the welfare of this neighborhood. Are we singing our part? Friends, God challenges us to a big task. Sometimes we will feel too tired, frustrated, overwhelmed to participate, and there is grace offered in those moments. But friends, our choir is not complete without you. And in this place, we can be nourished, encouraged, and refreshed to continue singing, not alone, but together. And we are not only supported by the people here, but also by our God, who tells us that our prayers are heard. And if we seek after God, we will find him. And God is working to restore our world. Friends, I am so glad that you are all a part of this community. And I look forward to continue to learn how to sing a new song in this place and praying and seeking after God with you. Amen.
Amen.